So welcome everyone to today's webinar, Advancing Sustainable Solutions for a Resilient Planet. We're really pleased to be here today on the margins of UNEA 7, where solutions are really being explored in all different sectors. Today, we're going to be talking about the electrification of construction equipment, which is actually a very exciting and emerging area for us all to be thinking about. And so we're really lucky to be here today with colleagues from governments that are really on the forefront of this from the Netherlands and from Oslo in Norway, along with technical experts from the ICCT and C40. So without further ado, I'm Sandra Cavalieri. I coordinate the Heavy Duty Vehicles and Engines Hub for CCAC. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the head of our CCAC Secretariat, Martina Otto, to say some words about an exciting new venture. So over to you, Martina.
Thank you so much, Sandra, and thank you, colleagues, for joining us here today. And a big thanks as well to our partners in organizing this particular session. So the International Council on Clean Transportation, ICCT, and C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group. Our collaboration here reflects the strength of partnership, and I really want to underline that because it brings together both the political leaders, the decision makers, the technical experts, and that across the cities, central governments, IGOs, and the NGO community, civil society community, to address an important and very fast-growing source of climate and air pollution. And we're actually really pleased to announce to you today this strategic partnership on non-road mobile machinery between the CCAC and two of its key partners, ICCT and C40. So to recall, CCAC is a coalition of the working of now 100 governments and over 140 non-state partners. And this, the sector overall has always been part of what we were looking at, but we're now really teaming up on this non-road mobile machinery to accelerate a promising transition that is already on the way, an area that has been overlooked for too long, I think, but that is now really ready for a coordinated global approach. And we look at the electrification and decarbonization of the construction and other off-road machinery. And looking to 2030 and beyond, our vision is pretty clear: a thriving global market for electric-powered construction and agricultural equipment that does the job and delivers immediate benefits for air quality, for the climate, for public health. And we think this area does present the right and a ripe opportunity for policymakers who are seeking quick and visible results, particularly in cities. And here a snippet is a city of the size of Paris is built every week. And that goes back to, well, growing urbanization and population growth and so on. But that shows us how much is in play. There's a real possibility for more cooperation with the private sector players. And we do see already very strong momentum. There's heavy industries in China that are deploying electric machinery at scale. As we have seen as well, policies that try to grapple with air pollution and that did target construction during peak periods. So there's this correlation between the willingness and the ability from the private sector and the enabling policies to really drive that and help make the economic case for it. Now we see in, for example, China and Indonesia, they're adopting electric mining equipment. In Zambia as well, they've deployed more than 30 electric trucks for copper mining. Northern European cities are beginning to set the pace for zero emissions construction sites, and several C40 cities are advancing innovative procurement and piloting programs that do demonstrate what is possible. And maybe a quick word on why does it matter? And that's because the non-road sector, including construction, agriculture, and other machinery, emit more than 2 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalent every year. And that is actually, to compare it, it's more than the sizable global maritime sector. And around half of this climate impact is driven by methane and black carbon, two of these very potent short-lived climate pollutants that the CCAC focuses on. And that means these emissions also contribute significantly to the poor air quality around. And here the snippet is 99, it's a problem everywhere. 99% of the global population is breathing air that's not considered safe according to WHO standards. And just to give a reference point, a further reference point, in many major markets, the sector is responsible for 50 to 70% of particulate matter from mobile sources and around 30% of nitrogen oxides. So it's sizable, and that means these pollutants do hamper cities' chances to reach World Health Organization's air quality standards, and thereby directly affect the health and the well-being of workers and the surrounding communities. Now, with technology advances that are underway and the policies that are being rolled out across different regions, the question is really no longer where this transition will happen, but it's how quickly we can move. And this new strategic partnership that we're launching here today, presenting here today, will help accelerate progress by enabling countries and cities to learn from each other. We build strong evidence bases to share best practices and support policymakers with the tools and examples they need to move. And our aim is really to generate the knowledge to support effective policy development, but really to create the confidence for long-term investment and build a global effort that keeps public and political support high. And the real-world evidence that we hope to create will be the centerpiece of this work. So showcasing active electric excavators, loaders, machinery on construction sites, and really showcasing how we can reduce the perceived risks for governments and investors. Pairing experts across countries will help create a clear step-by-step approach that builds confidence. And early leaders such as Norway and the city of Oslo, and we'll hear more about that, alongside with the example from China that I mentioned, but also the Netherlands, Switzerland, Finland, they all offer very valuable experiences that can support others. So this exchange will be particularly important for developing countries where the availability and the affordability really remain major challenges. And so we will look at the gaps that are there, but the priority for us now is to expand and to strengthen the market for this electric equipment. And that really requires action both at the local and the national levels. Locally, we'll need more pilot projects to really to present the evidence. We'll look at stronger public procurement as well, at low or zero emission construction zones and updated building codes. And nationally, we'll need performance standards, procurement regulation as well. Procurement is really a key element. Looking at the fiscal incentives, looking at charging standards, so really along the whole chain of what is needed to make it happen, the industrial policies that align with climate and quality goals. And we really need co-creation with the private sector players who offer already suitable products, who are committed to take producer responsibility. And with these foundations in place, we think this private sector investment will grow quickly as well. So electrifying construction equipment may not always capture the headlines, but it's really amongst the practical and high impact solutions that are available right now. It can help us reshape urban environments, protect workers, deliver clean air benefits immediately, while also getting us the climate benefits in the near term. And if we look at what we'd like to achieve over the next 5 years with this partnership, it's to transform the construction machinery from a niche pilot topic to a coordinated global transition. So success for us will mean a fully operational global initiative with a number of real-world demonstrations in place, demonstrating the economic and the air quality benefits, by looking also at the model regulation and the incentives that then can be replicated by others and help us shift the markets. Looking at cities running large-scale procurement and also some of the deployment programs supported by viable financing models and strong industry collaboration. And obviously a drop in the non-road emissions, and looking at how the non-road emissions would have a place as well in the global climate agenda. So looking at all this, it's an ecosystem, it's a partnership, bringing all this together. And really thank you again for the very strong partnership with ICCT, with C40, but also with all our CCAC partners. And we'll hear from some of them now. I really look forward to working together for cleaner air, for healthier communities, and also more resilient planet. With that, I'm handing back to Sandra to take us to the next panelists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Martina. And I really echo the momentum and the change in this sector is just happening so quickly. I think it's just an exciting place for us all to be focused. Without further ado, over to you, Robin. Robin Kohlenfeld is from the Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management in the Netherlands, and we're really excited to hear about the progressive work in the Netherlands. So over to you, Robin.
Yeah, thank you. As Sandra already said, my name is Robin Kohlenfeld, and I work for the Dutch Ministry of Infrastructure and Water Management. And today I will be telling you something more about our approach in the Netherlands, and I'll be telling you something about also the need for international policy or regulation. And that's why I also support initiatives like this one. So I first wanted to start with the question why we are working on sustainable construction equipment in the Netherlands. At the Dutch government, we believe that making construction equipment more sustainable is necessary for reducing the emissions of CO2, particulate matter, and nitrogen. And of course, as you probably already know, in the Netherlands, we have an excess of nitrogen emissions, and therefore it can be extremely difficult to get a permit for projects, and reduction of emissions therefore is needed. This is, of course, the main reason that we're working our program, but also things like climate, noise reduction, and health are a part of the problems that we're working on. So in 2023, we started our approach to reduce emissions in the sector, and we started with around 70 parties. And right now, over 160 parties signed our agreement on clean and zero emission construction equipment. And among these partners are the biggest municipalities in the Netherlands, all of the provinces, the Dutch Public Road Administration, Rijkswaterstaat, and representatives of the construction sector. These are just a few of the parties that have signed or public agreement. And there are many more. Also, big organizations like Royal Schiphol Group or the Port of Rotterdam. And in our approach, we are working with a roadmap towards zero emission construction equipment for machinery, vehicles, and floating machinery. So this roadmap falls under our public agreement or national agreement. And working with this roadmap is a clear and uniform approach on how to reach a more sustainable deployment of construction equipment, where the emission requirements are becoming more stricter over time, and also are divided by different power levels. And this approach, of course, is also developed with representatives of the construction sector, other governmental organizations like municipalities, the provinces, and knowledge institutes, which helped us gather data about the situation in the Netherlands. And let's see, the emission requirements are applied through public procurement by the commissioning bodies like Rijkswaterstaat or local governments, and they are differentiated per power range and types of vehicles and vessels and machinery. And these requirements are going towards zero emission equipment while phasing out the most emitting machinery on the short term. And here you can see some of the requirements for mobile machinery. We are now at the moment in the second period where we ask stage 3B for the light duty machinery. But from 2028, this already will be 100% zero emission for all the parties that signed our national agreement. So, of course, this is coming pretty quick. And I want to emphasize that we don't want contractors to buy new machinery every 2 years when a new period starts. The opposite. by working with these requirements, the equipment owners can adapt their investment plans on how the requirements will evolve, taking, of course, into account the depreciation period. It provides the sector, of course, with clarity and uniformity, as many commissioning bodies in the Netherlands use these requirements. And of course, to stimulate the development and a more continuous transition to zero emission equipment, there are also more ambitious commissioning bodies. So if you sign our agreement, you can choose to sign on the basis tier, as you saw here before, on the ambitious tier, as you can see here. And they apply more stricter sets of requirements focused really on zero emission. So at the moment, we are in the second period also, and we see that about 25 to 50% of the projects from the front runners has to be 30 to 70% zero emission at the moment. And of course, our program also includes various support instruments for the parties, with also over 1 billion euros in funding. There are various subsidy schemes available until 2030. There's a subsidy scheme directed for the sector to purchase and retrofit zero emission equipment. There are various subsidies for charging infrastructure, including mobile charging solutions, if there, for example, is not an availability to charge due to grid congestion. We have a knowledge and a skill program for the sector. We are also helping the commissioning bodies with partial compensation for the deployment cost of zero emission equipment in their projects. And of course, we also have a support program for local governments. I guess you can imagine that if you have never worked with zero emission equipment before, it can be challenging by implementing this in your procurements. And of course, what we're also doing is we try to keep evolving these instruments every year in collaboration with the stakeholders, also looking what their needs are. And of course, this is a very great first step. But what we're also seeing is that the national policies possibilities are insufficient. And this is mainly for us in the Netherlands due to the European internal market. And therefore, we also really don't have real possibilities to enforce the use of zero emission construction equipment. Of course, our national agreement is binding for the parties which signed it, but we cannot enforce it. There are not really possibilities to impose fines or penalties. And of course, the signing is voluntary. So part of our market is missing, mostly the private part of the market. And of course, we as the Netherlands are a pretty small country. The total market share of non-work mobile machinery in the Netherlands is relatively small compared to the rest of the world. And of course, that's why we also see that there is a need for international regulation or policies, and that's why we also like it very much that initiatives like this one are launched. The last slide, real quick, is that as the Netherlands, we are also working on a joint statement on low and zero emission mobile machinery. And this is a joint statement that calls upon countries, cities, manufacturers, international organizations to work on the progress of zero emission construction equipment, and also work on regulation or policies. I hope this was in the time, Sandra.
Perfect. It was perfect, Robin. Thank you so much. And this joint statement, just to be clear, like, is this something that if governments were interested in joining, they could do that? Or is this a joint statement within Netherlands?
No, this is a joint statement. If governments are interested in joining, they can do so. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that everybody has that information.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're moving quickly so that we have time for questions. So I'm going to move quickly over to you, Philippe Mortensen from the city of Oslo, to tell us all about what a city can do. And please, if you have a question, pop it in the Q&A. And if we aren't able to get to it in the webinar, we will get back to you afterwards. So please put questions in the chat. Over to you, Philippe. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, and thank you for having me on this event. My name is Philip Mortensen. I work for the City of Oslo in the Agency for Climate, responsible for coordinating and developing the Oslo sort of climate action. So next. It's of course highly contextual, the work that we do, and the specific background for Oslo initiating this strategy to transition towards zero emission construction is based on the goal that was adopted initially in 2015, that the city aims to become virtually zero emission, 95% reductions by 2030. So this is scope 1 territorial emissions in the city of Oslo. Of course, this is part of a comprehensive effort on adaptation, indirect emissions, energy, and carbon conservation. But really, a key priority for the city government and the city council is to make this transition possible. Next. So this is how our sort of inventory looks. More than 90% of our direct emissions is either from mobility. We have a large waste incineration facility for feeding the district heating system. We're working on a carbon capture and storage facility to manage those emissions. And then we have off-road machinery, quite significant emissions where construction plays a key role. We do maybe consider these numbers that we get from the national level, municipal level inventory, that they are overestimating a bit. But we believe typically 5 to 10% of emissions in a city would be from off-road machinery. Next. So at the heart of this strategy has been our procurement policy. So back in 2017 already, the city decided in a separate strategy on public procurement that all planned procurement should be based and take as a point of departure the goal that the city wants to become zero emission. So this is a key element of our policies. And we believe we have a significant market share. We do think that our construction portfolio building purpose buildings like schools, kindergartens, homes for elderly, and housing, also with some infrastructure projects. We have now 2 large projects on a metro line extension and new water supply. Those 2 projects combined have a value of roughly 5 billion euro. So it's we have a big market share, maybe 30% of the overall local construction market, and this is also why we think this is an important possibility for the city to play a role in this market. And what the city decided back in 2019 was this right-hand side illustration here of using then the tender award criteria when companies compete to do public construction work in Oslo. They will be awarded according to their environmental performance, and more detailed than if they can provide us with the capacity of zero emission construction services, they get 7 points in the competition, meaning that, all else equal, the company that has the best sort of capacity to provide us with electric services, zero emission construction services, they will win the contract basically. So it plays on the competition in the market, and this has been a key feature. At the same time, also in 2019, the city government stated very clearly that by the 1st of January 2025, if you wish to do public works for the city, then you need to be able to provide zero emission construction services. Next. So at that point in the market in 2019, there was no capacity. There was no machinery available and no sort of experience in the companies. There really was no capacity to provide zero emission construction services. So really happy to see how forcefully this framework has actually provided this market capacity now. 85% roughly of energy use at our, across our portfolio was zero emission in 2024. Next. So this is our research partner. They have availability of the data from the different projects. And, from small infrastructure projects like renewal of water infrastructure, sewage and water supply, also recreational parks and small projects, also larger construction projects. These are 180 projects that have been with use of large machinery and heavy-duty trucks. And as you can see, now a large share of these projects go now fully electric. Thank you. So just a glimpse of how we approach this also from the cost side. This is actually a delivery for the Norwegian Environment Agency wanting to explore the cost implications of requiring zero-emission construction. And on the left-hand side, you can see here that there is a significant sort of upfront extra cost related to the machines. They are more expensive zero-emission electric machines with big batteries. But then you get a lot of savings from energy use, more efficient and cheaper electricity. And of course, there are some additional costs related to infrastructure and also operational challenges as the companies need to learn how to use and take advantage of this new equipment. But we expect them to fall sharply going forward. And they also experience this, that there is a performance of improvement over time. Next, please. So just wanted to highlight here, this is of course a strategy. We have been working with this quite systematically now for a number of years, and it started out with the mayor, the governing mayor himself, sort of engaging with the industry and challenging them to provide us with fossil-free construction sites. So that was quite easy, and it was implemented as a minimum requirement then to use biofuels from 2017. But the industry also, this is, we had a lot of interaction with the industry, a lot of market dialogue, and actually they came back to us and challenged us on how about electrification, and can we work together on what is deemed to be the future best performing solutions, and also with those kinds of concerns about biofuels. So happy to be able to engage then with the C40 Cities network and also the European Union Big Buyers Initiative to mobilize more demand and get attention to this topic as we are gathered here today. Also, it's obviously a city like Oslo, even though we're the capital of Norway, we're 700,000 people. The value chain that we are engaging with here is a truly global value chain. So of course, we're happy to have that opportunity to work together internationally. Next. So this is just going forward. We are now at 2025. We hope to be very close to zero emission. And still aim for, by 2030, also to have regulation in place. Next, please. Just this summer, the city government proposed a new regulation with a mandate from the national government through the Pollution Control Act that we can actually require zero emission construction sites or a share of energy use to be zero emission by also from the private real estate developers. And we are with the public consultation periods was just concluded a couple of weeks ago. We are now sort of taking count of what has come in from the private real estate developers and working on what is a realistic goal towards 2030. But we still hope to be very close to zero emission citywide, also with private real estate developers. Next. So my final slide, just, we have been working a lot with the European Commission, really happy to have that opportunity to engage. We met with Rijkswaterstaat already in 2019, sharing experiences and our approaches on this. Also engaging with a lot of other cities. And of course, there is a need for more policies. We need a mandate to act that is not there already from, neither national governments, most national governments and the European Union as such. Also, of course, there's a lot of potential here to innovate, to explore new technologies and improve them and have the enabling policy framework going forward. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Philippe. It's just so exciting to hear about the fact that you started without actually having the answer and you developed the answer and it's working so well. So I think it's really inspiring. Without further ado, moving right along to some really excellent best practices and case studies from China. We have our colleague Hui He from who's here from ICCT, and really looking forward to hearing about all of your work. Hui, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sandra. Yeah, I'm happy to present some updates on zero-emission machinery development in China. Next, please. So as Martina said very early, that off-road sector now is surpassing the on-road sector and becomes the primary source of pollution of direct particulate matters and also black carbon. So I would say the air quality is the primary driver of these ultra clean technologies in China. Next. Because it's air quality impact, China is launching a lot of policies and practices in cleaning up the sector. So the Ministry of Environment is taking a leading role in designing and implementing several key policies. The first and primary policy is the emission standards regulation for off-road engines for NRMM. The current policy, the standard in place is stage 4, and roughly equivalent to Europe's stage 3B. But now China is considering to upgrade this regulation to the 5th stage. And that regulation is expected to further reduce PM NOx emissions and for the first time begin to regulate CO2 emissions from new off-road engines. So this provides a clear signal to the industry to provide ultra-clean and zero-emission products to the market. The second important policy is the clean fleet requirements or mandates for polluting industries. This policy is a demand-side policy, but primarily targeting the pollution industries such as coal industry, iron and steel, and cement. So basically, the enterprises in these key polluting industries are rated on their environmental performance from A to D. Only if you get a Class A rating, you can operate key measure to get that A grade. Otherwise, your production needs to be suspended during production days, and the industry does not like it. So clearly, this provides a strong motivation for the industries, heavy industries, to deploy zero-emission machinery. The third policy is also a national policy, but implemented at subnational local level. So this is high emission machinery restriction zones. So basically, gross emitters, primarily China 1 and China 2 diesel machinery, are prohibited from entering or operating in the zone. And because cities can decide to upgrade the criteria for entering the zone, so this policy also provides incentives to drive to zero emissions. Last but not the least is a temporal recent subsidy to replace dirty diesel machinery to zero emission alternatives as part of the economic recovery stimulus. Next, please. So as a result, we're seeing tremendous growth of electric loaders. And because the loaders are widely deployed in the heavy polluting industry mentioned earlier, such as the coal industry and cement industry in carrying and moving bulk raw materials. And because of that pollution industry requirements, we're seeing electric loader market penetration climbing from 0 to 17% in as short as 3 years. This is much faster than how the electric cars grow in China in their early stage. Next, please. However, for another important large machinery category, excavators, the electrification is still in the nascent stage, less than 1% market penetration right now. However, a good news is that the electric model offering to the market are covering a wide range of power bins. They are similar to the distribution of power bins of diesel counterparts. This means for most of the power bins will work, there are electric models able to replace diesel ones. Next, please. If we look at the entire heavy construction machinery market in China, the zero-emission technology is really advancing really fast. Now more than 200 electric models are available in the market. Next. And these models are covering a wide range of load capacities and also power beams, implying they can be deployed for a wide variety of use cases. Next, please. We're really seeing Chinese cities being the frontier to pilot the zero-emission technology in a variety of use cases. including construction sites, industrial and logistical parks, ports, cargo handling, and more. So we compiled all these cases into the Zero Emission Machinery Casebook, which can be downloaded from our website. Next, please. So from all these successful cases and empirical data, one key observation is that in some use scenarios, especially for the electric loader scenarios, the total cost of ownership of electric machinery is already at the parity point against their diesel counterpart, leading to as short as 2 years of payback period. Next, please. And we did a more rigorous TCO analysis for a large electric excavator. This is a 21-ton excavator, which is typical for use in construction projects in China. So I just jump to the key conclusion as shown in this chart. Back please, in the chart. So we're seeing that even today, as of 2025, the zero emission large excavator, the TCO in, over a 5-year ownership period is only slightly higher than that of current stage 4 diesel model. So this is shown in the middle column. This is a zero emission excavator compared with the first column, the baseline stage 4. And the slightly higher TCO is primarily due to the higher value-added tax applied to the zero-emission model. So if we think about reforming taxation policy in China in the future, that may help bring the TCO parity earlier. Next, and my final slides, some major takeaways. So the environmental policies, especially those on the heavy industry, was the key driver behind the zero-emission machinery development in China. And the cities are the frontier for innovation, including the use of the zero-emission technology, the policy innovation, and also the innovation in business modes that is critical to drive down the operation costs. In terms of economic viability, it is already proved in many use cases, but with some conditions, including long operation hours, predictable duty cycles, and lower energy cost. And even for larger machinery, such as excavators, the cost parity can be achieved within 5-year ownership period. But of course, there are many challenges moving forward. There are many other use cases with higher upfront costs, and the charging energy supply and business model are still lacking. So that will conclude my update. These are some free resources on our website, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Hui, and it really feels so much hope hearing your presentation, and also thinking about how things are happening faster in this sector than even in the beginnings of the electric cars in China. So it's really exciting to hear your story. I'll move over now to our colleague from C40 Cities, Andreas Ruud, to share with us some examples of cities working together in North America. So thank you, Hui, and over to you, Andre.
Thank you, Sandra, and thanks for inviting me. So yeah, my name is Andre Ostrud. I'm part of the clean construction team, as we call it at C40. There we work on both construction materials and construction machinery. I don't know if I can, yeah, I can control this myself. So for those of you who don't know, C40 it's a network for thank you. It's a network for cities working on climate policies and climate measures. We have a clean construction program where a subset of our 97 member cities are active. You can see the cities here. They're not all equally active, but it gives you an idea of sort of the cities that are in our network. So with that, just jump to the next slide, please. All right, so I will talk about some recent activities in North America, but first of all, I'd like to sort of just share a very high level sort of city policy framework or picture, if you like, on how we see this developing in different C40 cities around the world. So on the top here, we have a starting point where cities typically start out when they're working on or trying to push the agenda on non-road machinery. So a natural starting point is pilot projects, sort of proof of concept, and then from that, potentially moving on to public procurement, very much like what we saw or heard Philip present from the Oslo case. And then parallel with this is sometimes aggregating demand, maybe have several cities in a network standing together and sending a joint market signal, and also sort of conducting market dialogue with manufacturers and other stakeholders in the market. And then the next step would be to scale up from sort of municipal projects and pilot projects to the whole city. And some of the approaches we're seeing is low emission zones. I think we see that as part of the picture in China. It's also the approach London is taking. And another approach to scale up is citywide policies like urban planning and zoning or building permits and codes, which Philip talked about is in the works in Oslo. So that would be a way to sort of move from municipal projects to citywide projects. But along with this, you know, there's a clear need for supporting actions at different government levels and different types of actions, like emission standards at national level, and sort of national support to establish charging infrastructure, along with financial incentives and subsidies. So this is the rough pictures of how we see it. Thank you. So I'll move now on to an initiative we've had in North America, which sort of shows that upper right square I had on aggregating demand and market dialogue. So it's something called the North American Electric Construction Coalition. It is an initiative by the City of New York in collaboration with us at C40. It includes 8 North American cities so far and industry leaders. There's a lot less logos on this slide than what Robin showed earlier, but it's an important starting point in the market that is lagging somewhat behind the other regions we've heard from so far. It was pointed out when we started out that, you know, the cities in this coalition spend over 13 billion annually on construction work. So that does, you know, standing together like that sends a clear sort of market signal. Next slide, please. Okay, so since we started this in September 2024, the coalition has held quarterly meetings to discuss opportunities and barriers and share resources and knowledge. And in June this year, we hosted a virtual market dialogue on electric construction machinery, which convened over 70 North American value chain representatives. So the whole value chain really was represented. Next slide, please. So why is that an important starting point? I mean, this is pretty obvious, but we think that cities in their cities can shape the demand to a large extent. All cities build quite a bit, so they do hold some considerable market power or purchasing power. And with, you know, the right preparation and clear demand signals, like we've seen, I think, in the case of Oslo and the Netherlands and China, industry can hopefully meet some of these the demand that city authorities have. And of course, both sides need to understand each other's needs and what constraints they are facing when they're trying to decarbonize. So that was the background, if you like. Next slide, please. I mean, just listing some of the main points that came out of the market dialogue. This is not surprising at all. But some of the things that were discussed is that there's actually a lack of knowledge of what type of electric machinery is actually available, and maybe much more is actually available than city authorities and city agencies are aware of. Of course, cost consideration and cost parity is a key consideration. It also came up that maybe new business models are needed for this, as or there's an opportunity at least for new business models when the upfront investment costs are higher and the operational costs are lower. So that's something to look at. And it was underlined the importance of communicating the co-benefits in terms of air quality and noise, and also the working environment for construction workers. And charging came up as well as a major challenge, and the importance of early dialogue with power providers and utilities. Next slide, please. So this is an example of a city coalition or a market coalition. There's been a similar one in Europe, the Big Buyers Initiative, and we think that some of the advantages of doing this is that it strengthens the city's confidence in being the first movers in the market, and it does provide a platform for market dialogue. It increases the market or the purchasing power when cities stand together, and of course it's a forum for knowledge sharing and lessons learned. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is my final slide. This is just circling back to our starting point, which is this new initiative between CCAC, C40, and ICCT. We do see that cities can to some extent drive the transition or be first movers in some markets, as they are also obviously heavily impacted by air pollution and hosting a lot of construction. But this, city level action is not sufficient, and we do need to see action at different government levels, city, national, and regional levels. And that's why we are so excited about this new program and this new initiative, that we really hope can be a global platform to facilitate this multi-level action and governance. So with that, thank you.
Thank you so much, Andre. Really appreciate that. And it's also really exciting to hear about cities at their starting point, where other cities around the world could take some guidance from. I'm really excited to introduce my colleague, Sean Cook. Sean, I don't see you on my screen. Are you there?
Indeed, I am.
Oh, good.
Hello, everyone.
Okay.
Good to be here.
So, Sean, I'll just say that we're really excited. We work, the Heavy Duty Vehicles and Engines Hub is really an arm of the UNEP Sustainable Transport Unit. And so we really appreciate all of the collaboration with UNEP. Sean is going to moderate the Q&A. We already have 5 questions, Sean, so we're in good shape. And I'll just let you maybe introduce very briefly the Global E-Mobility Program and just kind of like all of the excitement that you're hearing from countries looking for support in this sector.
Sure, I will make this very brief. So we at UNEP run a global electric mobility program in which we support about 60 countries around the world with their transition to more sustainable mobility. Part of that is the freight program that I lead within the mobility program. And now we're listening to the countries, we're listening to where they want to move with this support. And certainly within the space, one of the topics that has come up time and time again has been non-road mobile machinery. I know that with a lot of the countries that we work with, low and middle income countries, the question of retrofitting has come up a number of times, and I think that would certainly be a topic of its own webinar. But I think we'll get quickly onto the really great questions we've had so far. I think there's been some good discussion here around the TCO. So maybe the first question is to Jorge around how you are incorporating within your TCO the fact that the equipment like this lasts for decades. and that there's obviously going to be some uncertainty around, you know, the batteries, the resale value, the residual value, the current technologies. And so they'd like to know a little bit more around how you are, what maybe assumptions you're using around the lifespan of these vehicles and the learning rates around technology and what the value will be when you compare diesel versus electric. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. That's a good question. I actually had two very detailed slides on the assumption, but due to the time concern, I didn't show. So yeah, I think first we use a typical excavator in China and also all the typical operation scenarios in China. For example, the operation hours, we used close to 1,000 hours per year. Yeah, we evaluated the TCO over 5 year of ownership period. So that answers one of your question. For the upfront cost, we're also seeing that for zero emission excavator is declining very fast, just in the past like 18 months. 18 months ago, when we look at the upfront cost, the purchase price for zero emission machinery is 2.2 times of a diesel counterpart. But when we did the analysis, it dropped to 1.8 times. It will continue to drop. And also the battery scaling is another factor to consider, you know, as the battery production in China was driven primarily by for like electric vehicles. But now it's the same battery manufacturer for both vehicles and off-road engines. So it also drives down the cost for because of the scale. It also in the results looking pretty good to me.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And if we can squeeze in one more question, I'd like to send one to Robin around picking up on something that was just said, how some of these vehicles, the manufacturers, but also the vehicles themselves have use cases outside of the construction industry, whether that's in mining or agriculture or industrial sectors. So how have you approached being able to make sure that there's some level of consistency or coordination for these vehicles beyond just the construction sector? Thank you.
Well, for us in the Netherlands, that's a pretty difficult question because our program mainly focuses on the construction sector. So I gotta say, we don't really have a lot of policy right now on machinery outside of the construction sector, or for example, in agriculture or mining. It's of course something that we're also looking at, but there isn't really like a set of program like we have for the construction sector. And of course, the main reason there is because of in the Netherlands, we have a nitrogen problem. And part of that is that the construction sector really has some issues in maintaining the projects because of they weren't allowed to do the projects with diesel machinery. So that's particularly why we choose to really focus on the construction sector. But we're also working with pilots or of course other policy, and of course eventually also making machines in for example agriculture or mining more sustainable.
Thank you very much. Sandra, is that it for the Q&A? Or will we be able to put in one more?
I think you could probably squeeze in one or maybe even two questions.
Ah, great. In that case, we have some questions around being able to know what options are out there for construction equipment. And so I know, for example, there is already a zero emission technology inventory for electric trucks out there that I also use with countries so that they know what electric trucks are available. Maybe a question to our colleagues either at C40 or ICCT, we can start with C40, whether you know if there's an inventory available that cities could use to understand what are their technology options.
Yes, so there is in the US market that I presented an example from, there is CalStart does have an inventory. They have a tool actually where you can see what's available. I don't know if any colleagues from Karlstad are on the line, but I'm sure they can drop some links in the chat if so. If not, I can share it. So that's one example. I also know there's been NGOs in Europe that have developed inventories of available. Great, I see that. Great, Daniela. You'll drop the link. I also know that there are NGOs in Europe that have Bellona that have developed an inventory for the European market more, and I'm sure also something similar exists in other parts of the world. So I mean, it is out there, and I think it's important that policymakers or decision makers in cities are aware of this, so they at least know that it's possible to procure this kind of equipment. Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Yeah,
Andre.
also
And then please jump in, Wei.
Wei, we are losing you.
That's okay. I have one more question for Philippe. There's a question around the share of sustainable biofuel that's used in the construction machinery sector in Oslo. Do you have some insights on whether you think that's going to grow? Will it hold steady, or do you see the electrification being able to push that out within the next few years?
Thank you. Yeah, it was much higher before. So actually, what we are doing now is replacing, most of that use of biofuels with an increasing share of battery electric equipment. So we expect this number to fall sharply. We look forward to February when we get the data for 2025, and we can, have a better answer. But I just wanted to highlight these are municipal projects. So we expect, we have maybe 30% of the market. So mostly, in private projects, it's traditional use of diesel. And biofuels has been part of our strategy to decarbonize, to have those emissions, from sustainable biofuels rather than diesel. But with this strong recognition that, in the long run, we see electricity the key source, and also having in mind that biofuels is a very much limited resource to draw upon. It should be reserved for those hard to abate segments like shipping and aviation and others. So for this segment, we see electrification as the solution for most of the applications. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to everyone sharing links in the chat. I see a number of very useful links there that are answering some of our questions. I think I'll then hand that back to Sandra.
Thank you so much, Sean, and thank you to all of you for your excellent presentations and really insightful directions forward. And thank you, Sean, for your excellent moderation. And thank you all for contributing. I think this is a really exciting area, and we don't usually get so many questions already prepared by the audience so quickly. So I think this is an area that people really do want to come together on. Martina, would you like to have a closing note?
Well, maybe just keeping it at the fact that I think it's very clear that we have a lot that we can build on already. This is an area that's moving. Sorry for the obviously machinery is moving anyway, but I think there's a lot of possibility here, and you see the experience that we can draw on already. So this partnership spirit is taking us, I think, to new heights. So very much looking forward how we can perfect that as we go forward and provide a really sound offer to the world. So thank you for being part of this endeavor.
Thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you at our next. We should say, I guess the last note is that we are going to have a series. This is the first of a series. So we will be coming together again soon. So please stay tuned, and we look forward to working with all of you on the call. And if you have any questions, you can follow up directly with me. And I'll put my email in the chat so I can connect you with other colleagues on the line. It's here in the chat, Sandra Cavalieri. So And you can always email the CCAC Secretariat if you lose my email. All right. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you.